What's going on, y'all? Back with another JT's Mixtape, episode number 41. And if you guys are enjoying these podcasts, please give me a 5-star review on either Apple or Spotify. And if you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. Thank you.
Come closer, my child.
What's going on, y'all? This podcast is brought to you by Modern Roots Life. Modern Roots Life is a Christian-owned and operated company, and it's bringing real health back to its roots. They offer powerful, all-natural health supplements such as beef liver, cod liver oil, beef tallow, magnesium, and mineral-rich salts, all sourced the way God intended. Clean, simple, and from the earth. So whether you're looking to boost your energy, restore mineral balance, or just fuel your family with real nourishment, Modern Roots Life has got you covered. Guys, in this community, we're trying to get healthy in our mind, in our body, and our spirit. So don't neglect your health. If you want more information, check out modernrootslife.com and check the link in my description. You know, people often ask me how they can support me. Well, I think it's pretty cool if you can support me by supporting the people who support me, and you get something in return. And being healthy is a pretty good return. Brian, what's happening, brother?
Oh, nothing much, man. It's a crazy day today.
Yeah, you've had a crazy week, day. Right? You got on some pretty big podcasts this week, though, so there's some good news, right? Other than the craziness.
Yeah, there's crazy good and crazy bad. It seems to be like a balance, right? It's like when all the good stuff happens, all the bad stuff wants to come afterwards. My phone blew up today. I don't even know what that's about. Like, my iPhone just like expanded and just blew up. And I was like, dude, that's nuts. But, I got on cool podcast when Jake Shields podcast.
Yeah, that's cool.
So UFC dude Jake Shields. Yeah. That's gonna be Jake Shields is pretty cool dude. Talked about some crazy stuff.
I bet. I mean, when do you not talk about some crazy stuff?
Seems to be the pattern.
That's why you get to go on the big podcasts.
Exactly. One step away closer from Joe Rogan. I'm getting on Joe Rogan. I'm going there.
Yeah, but you're on Joe Telford's podcast tonight, so it's not so bad.
Let's do it.
It's okay to be where you're at.
Hey, I love it. I love it here.
But yeah, so it was interesting. Brian and I had a discussion the other day. We were just talking on the phone, and I kind of shifted the idea of what I wanted to do this week because, generally I have some kind of a theme. I kind of do hope maybe in the future it's a little more random because sometimes it is hard to come up with themes, but it just so happened Brian and I were talking. We're kind of talking about phony American history stuff, or maybe even phony world history stuff. So I got quite a few videos picked out for that kind of stuff. But yeah, this will be a fun podcast. But maybe before we get into that, let's just start off with something different.
Let's do it.
You won't believe this city actually exists. This is Yanjin County in China, the narrowest city in the world, and it's built in a crack between mountains. At its skinniest point, it's just 27 meters wide, tighter than a highway lane, and yet over 400,000 people live here. There's no traffic light, one main road, and nowhere to get lost. Buildings rise up the cliffs like they're glued to the rocks, some even standing on stilts above the river. From above, the city looks like a single line threading through the valley, surreal, like a glitch in reality. And the views? Clouds below your balcony, rushing water at your feet, and mountains wrapped in mist. It's not just beautiful, it's a mind-blowing example of how people reshape nature to survive. Would you ever visit the city that looks like it was drawn with a pencil?
Wow, that's pretty cool.
That is cool. I mean, so I know when we had Max Powers on the show, we showed that really kind of almost futuristic looking city. What do they call it? The 5D city. And it had so many different levels, and it was hard to understand where actually the ground was. So this is totally different, but kind of same in the way that, like, it's amazing, but like, why? You know, like why would they do that? Like why would they build that city right on that river, right in that valley? It's kind of it is surreal to look at it. I mean, it almost be like think you say like that actually a real place because yeah, the logistics it just seems odd. It seems like a lot of work to build a city like that.
It almost seems like AI. Like it seems like it was just some creation of AI.
Do we have to look that place up to confirm that we didn't get had.
You know, I think you might want to because it definitely looks questionably AI. Look. But like, I believe that it could be real. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that looked pretty legit.
China. Okay, let's see images. I think that it's a real place.
Sweet. Oh wow, it is. It's real. Look at those buildings. Some of them may look abandoned almost. But
yeah, it kind of looked. Yeah, I did kind of catch that vibe when I was watching through the videos. Like they weren't all really well kept up.
Dude, that's so crazy.
Yeah, it just seems insane that they would do that. And like,
why wouldn't they build just up the mountain? They just instead were like, no, we'll stay on the flat surfaces on the edge.
Well, you think about like with flooding and stuff. Weird. Yeah, that place looks kind of looks nasty.
I wonder how many of their sewage lines like feed back into that river, or if they get their water from the river too.
That water looks poopy.
Yeah, where would they get their water? I mean, like that would only be like a sewage line river at this point. I bet they probably built on it because they probably drank from the river at once upon a time, and now it's just a poopy river. Dude, do you remember when they like?
Yeah, just look at that. I mean, you know what would make me worry if I lived there? Of course, we saw that flooding in Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine if that river got overflowing. How dangerous that would be.
Or like these bridges that are just across like there's only one road in that whole city.
There was one stoplight.
No, is this in one stoplight?
Yeah, I think it said one stoplight. Dang. Yeah, that's wild. I mean, I don't know. It's cool. I mean, it is cool though. I mean, there's a lot of places probably, especially in places like China and India, somewhere out in East Asia, that there's just so much mystery about that stuff. I mean, you know, you get into obviously the Indian temples and Hindu stuff and just weird megaliths. We've talked quite a few times about the pyramids in China. Obviously, this doesn't look ancient like that, but still, when and why? And yeah, you think like there'd be easier places to build where you'd still have access to the river, but not like that.
Maybe they just didn't invent plumbing. Maybe it was like plumbing was a thing that wasn't created in that region. Like, I don't know, because they're just like, get as close to the water as you can so you don't have to like, you know, carry as many buckets. Like, that's what I feel like.
It'd be kind of wild to see how they scaffold where, you know, the outsides of those buildings were, because that would have been like right in the river.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts.
Definitely nuts. Sure. But I thought that was kind of a fun one to start with. Maybe we should just go get right into the theme of. No, actually, you know, I got another video. I got a video from the Ninjas and Butterflies. They had Sam Tripoli on, and I saw a couple clips going around where he had some really interesting. Sam has all the years in the conspiracy game. He's got some nuggets. Check this out.
But here's the craziest thing about Bill Clinton. So he goes to Princeton, instantly he gets an SA charge, if you know what I'm talking about, the SA charge, right? So you study these guys, they have that thing that happens early on in their life, so now they got something they can control you with.
Yeah, especially when you're younger, more vulnerable, and it's like, listen, we'll promise you all these things. Yep. Do what we need you to do, pull the right triggers, we'll take care of you.
So the investigation of the JFK assassination was done by the Warren Committee. There was one guy in the entire committee that said, no, this isn't the real story. One guy voted no. That guy one day got in a plane and was never heard from again. He disappeared. Do you know who drove him to the airport?
No, what?
Bill Clinton.
No way.
What? Yes. Shoot. Yeah.
The Clintons, man.
Dude.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah, dude. It's really crazy if you study it because everything is data, dude.
Yeah.
Can they compromise you sexually? Are you a psychopath? Would you just commit horrible crimes against your own family just to get ahead? And most of these people would do it and not even think twice about it.
Oh, gosh, that's so evil.
Dang, yep. That's pretty suspicious for sure.
Yeah, we won't get too far into it because I
Oh,
know that it's
man.
probably got my buddy Max. It probably his channel slightly shadow banned because he did a video on the Clinton body count that surrounds their family. It's
Wow.
it's pretty big, and he did a very fair job. It's saying that not all of them could you really say they're strong cases against them, but what kind of wild thing is that? Is that Bill Clinton was driving this guy from the Warren Commission to
The only guy.
the plane ride that was his last. What are the odds?
Dang. Bill Clinton. He's
Don't
not
get
really
on
one.
Don't get on the Clintons' bad side. Just saying it's not smart. You know, and with that, maybe we're going to start going into the main topic of discussion. I was saying that one of my favorite topics, I have many favorite topics, but one of my favorite topics is our phony history. And I want to start off with one that I discovered this randomly. It's another one of these temples in America that they say is a Civil War monument or some kind of a monument to something. And the amounts of temples in America, whether they admit they're temples or not, they're temples. But there is so many of them. Again, I need you guys. This is a call to action. If you guys have weird stuff like this in your town, please let your boy know. And if you can, take some video. Because again, I would love to have, I said, I'm gonna do another little season video to try to help some people out who are making good content. But if you guys have good boots on the ground stuff we don't know about, especially if it's like Greco-Roman and weird. Yeah, especially if it's like it's a war monument. It's a temple. Because I'm going to show you. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Of course, this guy, the video I'm going to show you is not coming about it from the conspiratorial angle. I'm going to apply the special sauce for that.
The special sauce.
This is the Illinois Monument. It was dedicated on October 26th, 1906, to remember the 36,325 Illinoisans that served in the Union Army under General Ulysses S. Grant in the Vicksburg Campaign. It was paid for by the state of Illinois and at the time was $194,423, but in today's currency, it's over about $6 million.
Brian, do you really buy that that's a Civil War memorial to the state of Illinois and its soldiers?
I mean, that's pretty sus. I mean, that's a very $6 million equivalent dollars today. I mean, to build just a little hut, like with the seal of Zeus.
Well, the thing is, it's
there.
not actually very little. Like all these kind of monuments, it is not little. And just a little background real quick. So I don't know if you got all that from the video. So Vicksburg, Mississippi. This is the Illinois memorial or monument in Mississippi to commemorate or to memorialize the troops who fought for the North from Illinois in the battle or at the Battle of Vicksburg, Mississippi. So this is a kind of a vast complex of like war monuments. And so Illinois decided to build this one in Mississippi.
They just wanted to build a little building that's massive with a bunch of marble and stone and waste a bunch of money.
Yeah, check this out. Supposedly this is the dedication right here. So again, it's not little. But there's some really crazy pictures where it looks like it's so in the middle of nowhere. Here, look at this picture right here, Brian.
Oh, weird.
There's way more crazy stories about this place where supposedly the Union troops were starving the Confederates and they had to build tunnels under this place. Of course, my radar went way up when I heard,
and those are
they were
mounds.
building tunnels over there just to survive. That means there's tunnels, for one, obviously. And for two, there was likely always tunnels. And there's probably so much stuff under this place. Because it almost looks like it got built on a golf course or something, doesn't it?
Well, it looks like it's on top of a mound, one of the Indian burial mounds.
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure. But I mean, like that I'm saying, it's like, do you really believe that this thing just kind of got built in the middle of nowhere in this on this battlefield? It looks really old for one.
Yeah, it's very unusual.
But yeah, and then of course it's got that kind of Pantheon look to it.
Yeah, with the Zeus eagle on top there.
And you know what was really funny? So if you go over here, I'll go take you to the wiki page. And we often joke about the 1 year timelines of these buildings. I have got them all beat because we're going to go look at the wiki on this one. Okay, so here it says the Illinois Memorial is a public memorial located in Vicksburg National Military Park in Vicksburg, Mississippi, United States. Dedicated in 1906, it honors the Union Army soldiers from Illinois who fought in the siege of Vicksburg during the Vicksburg campaign of the American Civil War. And then if you go down here, it says construction began in mid-1906 and was completed October of that year. The total cost paid for by the state of Illinois for $194,423.92.
Wow.
So
October,
it's saying it was saying
January,
that they
February,
started
March,
building
April,
it.
May, June, July, August, September.
They started
October.
building it. Let's just say let's just make it right in the middle. Let's just say it would be July, right? Would that be the middle, or would it be sometime in June?
Yeah.
June, July 1st is like the middle of the year, right? Because you're 6 months in.
Yeah. Yeah. August, September.
So you're talking
October,
about
3 months.
This thing was built before November, starting in the middle of the summertime.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah, we were talking about like 3 or 4 months, and this thing was done.
Massive stone. They must not have had anything else going on in their lives, JT. Obviously, they had nothing else going on, and they just were solely focusing the entire town's inhabitants on cutting stone for 3 months.
And they're very good at it too. They're very good at it.
They're very precise. Yep. And very decorative, like, because they decorate all that.
And they said, I mean, you can only imagine the thought process that goes into that is that people from Illinois, which again, it represented 20%. So, I mean, imagine there was other states that had a pretty good amount of troops from the North that also fought in there. It's also kind of weird, you know what? Like the hokey stories of like the Civil War that like by the 1860s, Chicago is really still like, it's not that old. You got all these troops going down there. And then so they say, hey, we want to make a Roman temple in Mississippi for the troops that fought in there. Instead of, I don't know, maybe building a monument in Illinois where they live. Maybe that would be something that you might do. And maybe it wouldn't even have to be a Roman temple. Maybe it could be something that's, I don't know, references the war or has something to do with the Civil War, anything that would resemble, because generations after, including us, we look at that and we say, what the heck is that? Why is that in Mississippi? Why does it say Illinois on the front of it? And why does it have an eagle to Zeus on the top of it and also an eagle to Zeus on the floor?
Pretty questionable.
Yes, but that's just a starter. So we're going to get more into American history next. But I found this really interesting. So I did a podcast recently with Guy Anderson, and he wrote the book about the Tesla and the Cabbage Patch Kids. And so we had a fascinating discussion. But the one thing that he kept on bringing up to me was Napoleon Bonaparte Was he a real person?
Ooh, that's a good question.
It is funny that we often quote what we think is Napoleon about history is a set of lies agreed upon.
Agreed upon.
How ironic would it be? How
It's by the
ironic would it
victors?
be if the guy who said that never even existed at all?
They just agreed upon his
So
existence.
let's watch a video about that.
History's a lie. Napoleon never existed. Let's take a look at the statue of Napoleon in Paris. Napoleon's name is written Ne-Apollio, which makes it Greek, which means Apollo. Apollo is a sun god. Napoleon's mother's name is Laetitia. This means joy. Apollo's mother's name is Leto, which also means joy, but it also means hidden or forgotten. Napoleon and Apollo both had 3 sisters and they both had 2 wives. Apollo is the sun and it's in the sky for roughly 12 hours a day. Napoleon's reign was 12 years. The sun is strongest in the south and weakest in the north. Napoleon was defeated in Russia, which is in the north. Napoleon and Apollo both had 4 brothers who were all destined to rule. Napoleon started his reign by ending a revolution. Apollo started his reign by killing Python. For the British government, Napoleon was used as a boogeyman like Bin Laden, so they could raise taxes, secure funds, and push proposals through Parliament. The other reason was to cover up the war with Tartaria. You really think the French would go broke supporting the American Revolution? History is written by the victors. Always has been, always will be. Like, follow, and subscribe.
That's interesting. That's interesting that his name, it's Napoleon, or it's almost like Apollyon.
Well, yeah, Apollyon the Destroyer. I knew some of those things about Napoleon. I almost did a video related to that once, and that's great. That's a great breakdown because there is so much about him that is so not true. It starts to make you wonder, like, how many of these figures that they tell us are even genuine, because that's very clearly, Napoleon's very clearly like some kind of mirrored, reflected, occultic belief in Apollyon. That would make sense. Napoleon, that totally makes sense. Same thing with, like, we know George Washington is Zeus, so of course Napoleon would be Apollyon. Like, why would it, like, why not?
Yeah, well, one of the really interesting points that Guy Anderson brought up, that it was not mentioned in that video, that Napoleon had no children, which I think is sus. I think it's sus because if you really think about it, so Napoleon would have, let me look up when he supposedly died. So Napoleon Bonaparte, he was born 1769 and he died in 1821. Which is really not that long ago. And of course, here we got him with the hidden hand. Very, very sus.
Obviously, Freemason.
So if he was a real guy, he was a real secret society guy.
Yeah, he's got a lot of secrets. Again,
yeah, the hidden hand is... He's kind of like most people. Okay, there's a real famous story about Napoleon going to Egypt, his campaign in Egypt. And supposedly he went and he spent a night in the Great Pyramid and slept in the king's chamber in that thing that resembles a coffin. Did you ever hear that story, Brian?
I heard something like that.
Yeah, it was some kind of... It definitely sounds like some secret society vibes, right? That this guy did this kind of Osiris risen ceremony. Yeah. Osiris, Apollo.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, there he is with the hidden hand again.
He's
most often drawn with the hidden hand. That looks like one of his coins. He definitely looks like a Roman there, doesn't he not?
An emperor. Looks like some kind of Roman emperor.
Yeah, he's even got the kind of Caesar haircut, doesn't he? I mean, he definitely looks like a Caesar right there, doesn't he?
Yeah. So, I mean, look at the leaves on his
he's
head.
got the laurel wreath. You know who made the laurel wreath famous, Brian?
Victory
Apollo.
had it, right?
Apollo had the laurel wreath. Yeah, so it's really strange. So what I was getting at, so saying that he lived until 1821, that's really not that long ago. let's just say he had a son later in life. Okay, so he was born in 1820, like, let's say he was born in 1820. If he lived to be 100, he would have lived through World War I. His son, that would have been one generation could have lived, or one generation, but one lifetime, he could have lived all the way into the First World War. And then if he had a son late in life, we're talking about like his great grandchild could have lived in the same time period as we do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. So I think that that's really where I started to get suspicious kind of about some of these stories, because I think what's kind of odd, and this is we're going to get into American history. I think what me and Brian were talking about was really odd is that, but just think of this idea of we have these totally game changer myth legend personalities in our past. And of course, it all goes around 1700s ish, 1800s. And if you think about it, we don't really have a lot of relatives of these people, very prominent families who would have had like kind of a dynasty of if they had descendants that kept the family name going. But these people, like
And the
Napoleon,
descendants would
had
mean
no
something.
children, so the name ended right there. So, I mean, that could be convenient to history. But here's another thought before we get into George Washington. What I find,
Who
what I
also
have,
had no children.
yeah, we'll get into that. George Washington also had no children. We mentioned that before. And yeah, like Abraham Lincoln had 5 children. 4 of them died before the age of 16. And now I think the last descendant he had was some kind of a, I don't know, great granddaughter or something. She's passed too. But what I kind of wonder too, with the idea of like the Gunnar Heinsohn research and then the 700 years added, and then you even think about like medieval times being contemporary with times of the apostles and Jesus, like pushing what King Arthur, he's before Jesus. He's like living in the times of Julius Caesar, who is like about 80 years before Jesus. So if you think about like that, then what if somebody like Napoleon and maybe even George Washington, what if he was a real person, but the reason we have no modern descendants of them is because they lived way further, they're further back in the timeline, right? Because if they can put funny business in the recent past, what if they could distort when these events in Europe happen as well? Okay, let's watch this video about George Washington. And it's a little different take than we've viewed before, but it relates him to the Romans.
Today's history lesson is on George Washington, Roman leader Cincinnatus, and why Washington is often compared to Cincinnatus. In fact, notice how this statue of Cincinnatus looks a lot like this George Washington one. So Cincinnatus in 458 BCE was asked to leave his farm and become dictator of Rome to beat off an enemy. It only took Cincinnatus 15 days to lead the Roman Empire to victory, and he did something miraculous. He gave up his power and returned to his plow in the field. This made him a symbol of civic virtue. He gave up his possible personal desires for the greater good. Fast forward to November 25th, 1783. That's General George Washington there, giving up his power after defeating the British in the American Revolution. He resigned as Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army. This was a voluntary action, and it's often described as one of the nation's great acts of statesmanship. And it actually helped establish the precedent of civilian control of the military. And then Washington returned to his farm, which was, let's be honest, it was a slave labor camp, plantation, where he had lots of enslaved people working there against their will. And as you know, George Washington later went on to be America's first president, and he left office after 2 terms. There was nothing in the Constitution that said he had to leave after serving for 8 years. He did it because he felt like it was time. And this set a precedent for future American presidents until Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Now it's in the Constitution. 2 terms. This idea of putting country above your own personal interests has been embedded in American history.
Yeah, so Cincinnatus.
I
think
love the
Cincinnatus
idea.
is not somebody that most people are familiar with as far as our Roman history. Really, I mean, we only kind of know bits and pieces of Roman history, but that's a really weird story, and that's a really weird how she said that they asked him to leave his farm to do something, to the way she described, to go fight off, except she didn't use the words fight off. She used something else. to go leave his farm to go fight, and they made him dictator. That's the one interesting part, is that we're told about dictators from like a modern perspective, and we only talk about the guy with the funny mustache, or people like Mussolini, or the people who run North Korea. And we're only like, dictators are always viewed as these tyrants. But that's the funny thing. I want to say that when Julius Caesar became dictator, he took that title because he didn't want to say that he was a king. He had all the authority of a king, but he didn't want to claim that. So dictator was actually not
like a reverence.
It was a way to kind of like hide the fact that he had ultimate power in this place.
I loved the idea of George Washington wearing his formal garb, mowing the lawn there or whatever. He's like plowing the field. And it's just so funny, that picture. It's like, really? Is that really what was going on here? Come on.
It is kind of funny to think that, so he was going to plow his field, even though he had, I don't know, at least we're told, lots of
aristocratic
slaves as well.
Level. Yeah.
Probably wasn't doing manual labor. But you know what's interesting? So somebody else brought this up about how him being related to this Cincinnatus, which I guess that's where we get the name Cincinnati, Ohio, but it's not in Virginia, where George Washington's from. But I remember this when I visited Raleigh, North Carolina. I went to their state capitol building, and this was the statue of George Washington there.
Yep. That doesn't look like a Roman god at all. What are you talking about, bro? That's obviously George.
Would you have been like me when you first walked in there? Of course, it's Raleigh, North Carolina. George Washington is famously a Virginian, right? You walk in there, and if you first saw that, would you know that was George Washington?
I wouldn't for a second go, oh, look, George Washington, by default. Now though, because I know George Washington is Zeus, I'd wonder. Like, I would think about it. But on average person, no. Wouldn't for a second think, oh, look, that's George.
That was me, because that's when I walked into this building, it wasn't until I looked down and I saw that. I was like, whoa, that's George Washington?
When did he become a Roman citizen?
Yeah, and supposedly this statue was, I want to say it was built like 20-ish years after he died. That's weird. I think it's weird. I think, if you go over to, let me see if I get better pictures of, so there's another picture of him looking like he's in another dome here.
They like to put him in those domes.
Yeah, right, yeah. So if you go, let me see. Let me get outside a picture of this building. Yeah, so that's the Raleigh State Capitol building.
That's
it's got all
ridiculous.
These Roman columns and stuff all over on each side of it. It's absolutely massive. But so when I first walked in there and I saw George looking like that, I didn't know it was George. Because why would I? Because you expect him to be wearing some kind of, I don't know, Victorian garb, right? Like his kind of like high socks and tight pants and whatever. You don't expect him to wearing a toga,
his wig,
and sandals.
Roman sandals and a toga.
It really is. I mean, it is absurd. Again, we just talked about that Vicksburg War Memorial or whatever, Illinois Memorial in Vicksburg, Mississippi, and everything is so Roman here. Why is it so Roman here if this place is not really connected to Rome? Just because the founding fathers thought Rome was cool or something?
Yeah, that's why they just thought it was so neat. They named everything after it.
That's really weird. And again, so here's where the conversation went when Brian and I were talking the other day on the phone, was that, as I was saying, that so George Washington lived basically till 1800, right? So again, if George Washington had any kids, sons, they could
still be alive.
They could have descendants.
Their
Then they could still be active. They could be in politics. They could be in lots of things.
They could pull that, oh, I'm a descendant of George Washington card, and everybody would be like, oh.
Well, just think about it like this. So we're told that George Washington turned down being king, which that story seems so stupid. Just think about how dumb the story is. That the revolution is fought against the crown, and they want to establish this democratic republic, right? They literally started to write a constitution and everything. And then some guy says, hey, let's make George Washington king. I would love to see Thomas Jefferson's face if this story's true. Like, they would be like, what did you just say?
Didn't we just try to get away from having a
He's
king?
like, you mean I got to change all this Bill of Rights and all this stuff that I just gave the people? this government we just established? And no, instead it's like George Washington says, nah, I'll be president. But don't worry, I'm going to step down early. And he dies almost immediately after he steps down. Because he was president I want to say he became president in 1781, I believe. He dies in within 10 years of leaving office.
I got to ask ChatGPT some stuff. I got to be like, hey, yo, ChatGPT, tell me the stories of Zeus where he steps down from his position.
Zeus says, I don't need to be king anymore.
Yeah, where's the stories of Zeus? There's got to be one.
You know what? It is funny though. So what I said is you have these people. We'll get into the lineage here, but I want to talk a little bit about some kind of phony stuff with George Washington too, because I did look up because there's lots of myths around this man, right? Have you ever heard any kind of the supernatural things that accompanied George Washington, Brian?
I mean, I don't recall any on hand. I just remember, I shall not chop down the cherry tree. We'll read, which is a total myth.
We'll read quickly through the myths real quick. Okay, so of course we have the famous cherry tree one. That's the one everyone knows. The story goes, as a boy, Washington received a hatchet, chopped down his father's favorite cherry tree. When confronted, a young George allegedly confessed, I cannot tell a lie. I did it with my little hatchet. What a stupid story. The whole thing is dumb. But anyways. Oh, with the other one, I don't even know if it's on here. It's the wooden teeth. You ever heard? What a weird story. And so there's lots of videos about this.
Well, the wooden teeth are also supposedly from slaves.
Yes, there was many videos about that, right? But I was kind of bored with that idea. It seems really weird to make up this story about him having wooden teeth, but they were actually like just prosthetic teeth, and they were made with other people's teeth. Why did this guy have no teeth?
Yeah, I don't know. That's pretty weird because they wanted to convince you to brush your teeth, children. Because nobody had to eat teeth.
Okay, so here's the interesting one, though. So the number 2 myth on here was a vision at Valley Forge. The story goes that Washington, while at Valley Forge in a brutal winter of 1777 to 78, allegedly received a vision from an angel who showed him 3 great trials of America: the Revolution, the Civil War, and the future invasion.
Wow.
Each trial ended in America's triumph. What's the future invasion? Is he talking about?
Oh, man.
Is he talking about Pearl Harbor?
I don't know. It's a weird one.
Yeah, but yeah. So he had a visit from an angel. And here's a really interesting one: is the number 3 is the bulletproof at Monongalia, I guess you say it. Includes Native American chief calling Washington the man who could not be killed. He used to portray Washington as a chosen and protected by God. Yeah, if you actually look up the story of this, it says that this is the more detail in the story. It says the most famous version of the story of Monongalia, 1755, the French and Indian War. Washington serving as a young officer, just 23 years old, under British Colonel General Edward Braddock. During the ambush by the French, Native American forces, Braddock's army was decimated, and Washington took charge after Braddock was mortally wounded. Despite riding back and forth under heavy fire, Washington survived untouched. It's said that 2 horses were shot out from under him, and 4 bullet holes were later found in his coat, yet he was unharmed.
Oh, I've heard this, yeah.
How about that, Brian?
That George Washington? More like Superman.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, those are the main ones. We already addressed the one about how they wanted to make him king. But so, yeah, he had a bunch of holes in his jacket. 2 of his horses got killed, and he was not hit.
He made me look like a dirty homeless man.
Come on now. Again, the man, the myth, the legend, or maybe he was just the myth. So here's what I was talking about. So the lineage thing. Okay, so just think about it like this. That this is the guy, supposedly, that people wanted to make king. You imagine coming from a family like the Washingtons, if he had children, right? If this guy had sons, it'd be like being born on third base. Even better than that.
It'd be like you're born a celebrity.
Right. Well, I mean, just think about like famous political dynasties like the Kennedys. The Kennedys are famous.
And they have a dynasty of people that were also involved in politics. So there would be more of that. Why? There's only today. There is hardly any.
Right. So this is what we were talking, me and Brian were really kind of discussing, is the fact that just think about that you have 250 years of America. You have all these American presidents. We know how politics works. Nepotism. Or just powerful families. Isn't it a little bit odd that we don't have was John Adams' kid ever elected to be president? What about Thomas Jefferson's kids? What about any of these people's kids? Like with the same name or anything like that. I was thinking you have to go all the way down to George W. Bush because his dad was president. George Herbert Walker Bush is family.
Is he the only dad-son president combination in our United States history? I wonder.
We should look that up to see if there's anybody who's related. Let's just see.
Is there any closely related presidents that became president and ran for office? Father or son descendants.
You know what? Okay. So I looked it up. We were a little bit off. Did I mention John Adams? Okay, so it says, here's what we got on the list. We got John Adams and then his son, second and sixth president. And then we have a William Henry Harrison, who died 1 month in office. His grandson was president, the 23rd president. And then we have the Roosevelts, who were Theodore and FDR were fifth cousins. So that's really not close. Okay, so out of all the presidents we have, we really only have, in the modern era, we really only have the Bushes. Because John Adams and his son are pretty old. So that's the only father and son other than George Herbert Walker Bush and George W. Bush. I think it's kind of weird that we don't have like these dynasties that can trace their line all the way back to the original founding fathers. There's not one family, there's not one powerful family in Washington that can say that Thomas Jefferson was my great 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 grandpappy, right?
Well, he would only be like his great 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 grand uncle,
like,
maybe.
Like again, like somebody like Lincoln. Because if his kids didn't die real young, then we would have lots of people related to them, you know, going back. Because it wouldn't take them many generations to get to the modern era from Abraham Lincoln, because he died in the 1860s.
In fact, I'll tell you one thing. My uncle was actually telling me that he was getting on Ancestry.com researching a lineage. He actually did trace one of these politicians' lineage back, but it didn't go to George Washington or whoever. You know who it did go to? He chased it on Ancestry.com, guys. He chased the lineage back all the way to Zeus and Kronos. They were literal people on Ancestry.com. Now you can do the same thing, and it'll you get so far, the Ancestry will just stop you from going further. It's kind of interesting. That's the only, the fact that it goes all the way to Zeus and Kronos.
You have also, again, I bring this up all the time, that supposedly the Winchester family and the Bush family claim to be sons of Marduk. So Marduk is the Babylonian name for Jupiter or Zeus. So yeah, there is people who can trace their line. And again, that gives them this divine right to rule. Often we mention, though, that that all the presidents are related by being cousins of some kind of degree. It's funny it only mentions the Roosevelts being cousins who were a political dynasty, but isn't it kind of funny to think that when's the last time a Roosevelt held any kind of office of note in America? Why isn't that family like ultra powerful? I mean, because I want to say that the like FDR, he came from like, I don't know, kind of some kind of royal stock too. I want to say from some kind of relation to the English or something. Yeah, he was a really, really powerful person. And again, he's the only person who actually, did he serve for like 4 terms or something like that? And he died during the 4th one?
I don't remember.
Yeah, it's sort of weird. The whole thing is kind of weird. I guess the whole point of that conversation is just that as young as America is, why isn't there more connection to that history that's really not that old? And again, you can kind of use that the same to talk about people like Napoleon and these other kind of really prominent world figures. Is it possible that, again, that they are either inserted into the timeline, like pushed maybe farther up in it to make sense of some of the funny business during this wacky time in the 1800s? Or are they completely just made up? Because again, this is before pictures and things like that. And even if there were pictures of some of these people, we know Photoshop is a thing. And how hard would it be to say this guy is this other guy?
That would be very
just to say
very
this
easy.
is who this is, because we would have no idea, right?
No, there is no.
Well, anyways,
idea.
just something to think about. Okay, I've got a couple more videos, and then we're gonna maybe get into some. Oh, you know what? We should play this video, Brian. This was some big news from this past week, and this is just some of the details about this story are a little sketch.
We have just got some disturbing new updates on the mass shooting in New York City, including a reported suicide note where the gunman asked for his brain to be studied. Here's what we know. 4 people, including 1 police officer, was killed after a man, now identified as 27-year-old Shane Devin Tamora, walked into the lobby of the Blackstone building in Midtown Manhattan and started opening fire with a semi-automatic rifle. He then took the elevator to floor 33, where he shot himself in the chest before police could arrest him. Now, as of yet, we don't know why he chose the 33rd floor, or even if there's any significance to the floor or the number. Now, authorities say that he had a documented mental health history, but that he was licensed to carry a firearm in Las Vegas, where he was from. Now, here's where things get crazy, because law enforcement sources say that according to papers found on the shooter's body, they indicate that he had grievances with the NFL. In fact, the Blackstone building that he targeted houses the NFL's headquarters on the 5th floor, and one of the victims, who is currently being treated for serious injuries right now, is an NFL employee himself. CNN also report that Tamora was found with a suicide note in his back pocket saying, "Terry Long football gave me CTE and it caused me to drink a gallon of antifreeze." He also apparently wrote, "You can't go against the NFL, they'll squash you," and then ended it with, "Study my brain, please. I'm sorry, tell Rick I'm sorry for everything." For those who don't know, CTE is an Alzheimer's-like brain disease linked to head trauma and is most commonly associated with football players. CNN also spoke with one of the gunman's high school friends, who said that Tamora was never problematic, he was a good athlete, and even called him a great guy in general. So he said he was shocked when he heard the news, but he hadn't spoke with Tamora for over 10 years. Now, police have since searched his car and they found a revolver, ammunition, magazines, some prescribed medication, but no explosives were found. They also say they are still investigating motives, so I'll keep you guys updated when we have more.
I got a theory. What do you want to bet he takes psychotic drugs? And what do you want to bet those drugs have nothing to do with any chemicals in your head, but rather they do have something to connect with demons? Because it's demons, bro. That's my theory. Like, literally, dude got demon possessed from taking some psychotic drugs. And I guarantee you he went and saw a shrink. And I guarantee you that shrink, or that psychotherapist that he went and visited before he did all this, I guarantee you that guy works for the CIA and works for our government, whether it's listed or not. That's my theory. I almost guarantee you that one.
But what about, it was the Blackstone building and it was floor 33. I like I like how Dylan Page. You think Dylan
Oh my
Page was like,
gosh.
was he trying not to laugh or hold in a smile when he's like, I don't know if there was anything significant about the floor he landed. That guy does enough stuff on TikTok where he knows what everybody in this audience thinks. 33.
Yeah, it's very much their calling card. They're telling you that they did it. That's what they're saying to the world.
He was like, yeah,
They did
ironically,
this.
he's blaming the NFL, who's on the 5th floor, but he went to the 33rd floor to do this thing. And this guy has some grievance against the NFL. It's like, wouldn't you kind of expect him to look like a football player? I mean, he just looked like just a random guy. Did he look like he played football? I mean, I guess he could have at some point, but I mean, probably not enough to get CTE. I mean, that's the kind of injuries that people get from like playing for like a long time and taking lots of impacts to your head. And I don't even know how scientific that stuff is anyways, but I know they've attributed a lot of stuff to CTE, but yeah, so he goes to the 33rd floor instead of the 5th floor where the NFL headquarters is.
He just had a little bit of a brain fart, you know.
Well, I guess that would track. But yeah, that's really weird. That's really weird. That's really suspicious.
It's so
the whole
obvious
thing
it's
is
occultic. That's a sign. That's all what that is, guys. When you see 33 repeated, all they're doing is they're telling the world and the news and there are other people in their cult, they're saying, we did this. That's all that means. 33 is like, we did this. It's like, go. It's like, here's the sign. Here's your move. That's what 33 means. That's the sleeper cells. They're all sleeper cells. They're made by our government and the country with the little hat people make these sleeper cells. They create them through all kinds of, psychosis, therapists, military experimental programs. They make them. And then they program them to do whatever they want and make up the story and the excuse for the person to go do the thing. And they use demons. They interject demons into them to control them, to get the job done.
yeah.
That's how it works.
Okay, well, let's transition to another crazy one.
Get the f*** out of the store right now! Out! Me? All you, get the f*** out of the store!
And some breaking news as a TikTok are known as Heston James is now facing 9 years in prison after being arrested by 10 PPD. Yes, they've now hit him with 13 different charges and they're all pretty serious. They're saying that his pranks on TikTok went way too far. Shall we have all of the details to tell you in this video? His real name is Heston Cobb. His pranks were going absolutely viral at the beginning of this year, but then everything went south. He decided to do this print, getting a bunch of his friends to act like mechanics and enter this mechanic shop. There, they started taking off tires and then refusing when being told to leave. What Heston didn't know is that authorities were building up the case on him. Different businesses in the Tempe area like Chipotle, Pet Boys, Highland Auto Repair, A Big Brand Tire, and Jiffy Lube all said that Heston James and his friends would walk into their businesses and start doing these sort of pranks. The breaks would then go extremely viral. Heston James didn't know that there were actual consequences to all of this. You could see that he's now been hit with 1 count of burglary in the 3rd degree, 2 counts of criminal impersonation, 5 counts of disorderly conduct, and another 5 counts of criminal trespass. If convicted for everything in this list, he could do 9 years in prison. And his account on TikTok that had 1.6 million followers has also now been banned. It looks like the Heston chain story might be over, or it might be barely starting. But chat, what do you guys think about this one? Free or key testing, James?
Dude, pranks are real, peeps. I kind of, honestly, it's such a weird subject because I used to be a little bit of a prankster before. And it is, I get the idea of being fun, but when it goes to a line where it's now causing problems and affecting people's businesses, that looks pretty gnarly. Those don't look like pranks. Those look like bad for business distractions. At a certain point, bro, you get what you do. You deserve it, and that's what's gonna happen to you, bro.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I've seen. Yeah, if you scroll TikTok, you see that kind of stuff, that kind of content. But I was just thinking about how.
And it encourages others to do that kind of bad stuff, and it gets even more out of hand. So it's really
that's exactly what I was thinking. Is that when you're doing this, and you think about it, the guy had 1.6 million followers. You might have been making some good cash doing that. I mean, you think about it. It showed. I mean, you could see on the right side of his profile, it said he had 61 million likes. That is a lot of likes. So you think about how many viral videos he has on that page. They would have paid well. And so you get mega viral, mega famous on TikTok doing this kind of stuff. And yeah, exactly what you said. It encourages other people to say, I want to do that. And it's, yeah, you can probably continue to kind of like up the ante, right? Because you can't stay at the one level. You have to try to do something more and more outrageous in order to get people's eyeballs on your content and to watch it and to share it and subscribe and all that stuff. So yeah, like the guy going in there with the crew, they're jumping out of a van and then they're going into a mechanic shop and they're taking wheels off cars and stuff.
Bro, that would not be funny. If I was there and that was my car and I was like trying to go and do something, I would not be laughing. I'd be like, dude, this isn't funny. Put my tire back on my car now.
Well, you're like, it seems like this guy, he looks like pretty young. How old did they say he was?
I don't remember.
Yeah, he's like a man child, right? Because he still looks like a kid,
yeah.
But he's in the body of a man. But then you're dealing with like real men and women who have real jobs and they don't care about your stupid TikTok. It's like you're messing up their day. You're messing with their money. And like, this is what will happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like these people ain't playing. You ain't playing with somebody's money like that who's got a mechanic shop. Yeah, can you imagine how much of a mess that would be for those people's day? And it's like these people are just trying to get through their day. No, there's lots of TikTok videos that are pranks, and they are funny. I kind of like the ones where they prank thieves.
Yep. Yeah, that one's hilarious.
Where they have like a bicycle that falls apart
they
when
need
they
to
steal
stay.
it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Here we go. Here we go, yes. Oh my!
I broke my back.
What do you mean by that? You broke
back is broken.
What a vertebrae or what portion?
Spinal.
Or yeah, the bicycle where the rod goes into the butt. That one's pretty terrible.
Now, pranking
gosh.
thieves. I you know what? I don't hate that.
I don't hate that one either. No.
If somebody's gonna steal a bike and the bike
It's
falls
terrible,
apart
but-
as they ride off in it and they crash, that's pretty funny. But
have you seen the one where they put like the backpack and they like put the invisible cable wire to the tree so they like grab it and they run off with the backpack and it just yoinks them? It's
or
terrible.
the other one where they walk away from like a purse or a backpack, and of course the first thing the thief does is zip it and open it, and it's like got that exploding dye stuff that hits them right in the face.
Yeah, I'm gonna get myself an ice cold tea, baby. Ice cold tea.
Never ruin a good day by thinking about a bad yesterday. Number 2, ignore them. Don't listen to other people. Live a life that's empowered to you. Number 3, give it time. Time heals everything.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's so terrible, but it's comical, but it's terrible. Honestly, it's so bad because our society is what pushes some of these criminals. Like a lot of our criminals in the world aren't criminals out of want. Okay, in America, there's a lot of criminals out of want, which is a problem in comparison to criminals out of need. You know, like you would feel bad if somebody was like stealing something to pay for their family, you know? But a lot of the criminals today, they don't need anything. Their stuff is taken care of. So a lot of times the criminals that are stealing this stuff, they're stealing it out of want. So it kind of feels like more justifiable to be like play pranks on them if they're doing it, which is it's terrible. Still, it's still bad. It's not Christian. It's not good. It is kind of funny though, because you're just like, it's like, this is what you want. You're stealing not because you need, you're stealing because you just want something. And then it's like you get something that you don't want.
Yeah, it's not that I condone it,
pretty
but I
hilarious.
understand it a lot more than I see this other stuff. And it's like, yeah, don't mess with people and their livelihoods and stuff like that. That people are just doing their job.
Have you seen that?
Like I said, you prank a thief. I'm not necessarily saying you should do that, but I'd rather you do that than mess with people's businesses and stuff like that.
Have you seen that one dude? What's his name? Smarter Every Day or Veritasium or something? I forget one of those. He literally figures out where the Indian call centers are, where they are like call scammers, and he like sends like this device he makes that's a sparkle fart spray bomb. And he like goes to India. He sends someone to India to get a job, and they get in and they open. He makes like a device that releases cockroaches, And like he gets into one of the scam senders.
Those are the
and
people
he like
who
shuts down
do
all the scam calling.
The scam likely calls.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And so he shuts down one of the scam call centers that is like they're like stealing people's money and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
not
crazy.
all heroes wear capes. Actually, none of them do.
Yeah.
But check this out, Brian. I got 2 more videos for the YouTube portion, and then I got a couple of videos. We're just gonna have to show them because these ones are gonna be too spicy. But again, I told you we're gonna do one more. I'm gonna do a quick video here, and then we're gonna do the little season. I gotta have a name for that. The little season influencer video.
Have you ever wanted someone to take care of? Someone who needs lots of cuddling and affection? Someone you can give your love to? Well, that someone is Little Miss No Name. She's the doll who needs more loving care than any doll you've ever had. Look, she has a tear on her cheek. Little Miss No Name is sad because she doesn't have a pretty dress. She doesn't have any shoes. She doesn't even have a name. But she does have big brown eyes. Most of all, Little Miss No Name has a heart filled with love. Give her a kiss and hold her close. Take your comb and make her hair look pretty. Little Miss No Name needs a home and all the love you can give her. You'll find Little Miss No Name standing in a snowstorm box at your toy store. Take her home with you today. Little Miss No Name.
Bro, there's no way that's real.
Dude, I looked it up.
Oh my gosh, it's real.
Because I almost feel like I got scammed again by like the Action Cats. And again, hopefully this is not another Action Cats where I'm gonna get copyright striked from this. But yeah, I looked it up. Little Miss No Name was a real doll that they expected people to buy.
Gosh.
Don't take that thing home. That thing is freaking possessed by a demon. Are you kidding me?
Bro, it's totally demonic. Bro, they said find her in a snow something box. Like, what is that?
Obviously, they're trying to present this doll like an abandoned,
like a homeless child.
And so you're supposed to take her in. She's wearing like a burlap sack. I like how they say she's got big brown eyes. She's got black eyes. She's like, like the black-eyed children, right? We've never even talked about them on the podcast, Brian.
Oh yeah.
Well, maybe we want to get too far into that today, but Brian, is that the most demonic looking doll that's not a spoof? Like they weren't trying to make it look scary like all these weird movies, these horror movies now, where they all have this common theme of like
the doll
with children being possessed.
Bro, it literally says Little Miss No Name, the doll with the tear. And it's got like this tear stuck on its face. Like, who thought of this? Like, what? It says, I need someone to love me. I want to learn to play. Please take me home with you and brush my tear away. Oh my gosh. This is like, dang, that is so disturbing. I can't believe this is real, dude. This is so not. Oh my gosh.
Check it out, dude.
Wow. Dang, that's creepy.
Yeah, it's like a
dude. This is so disturbing.
You can't make this up. It does look like this would be something that you'd expect to be. This came from some kind of horror movie genre, but obviously this is way before that stuff. I think most of these ones look like they're recreations of it. Because I looked it up, they said it did not sell. It did not sell because most people.
Can't imagine
and
why.
I think they say that these dolls are worth a lot now. I guess it does have brown eyes now. You look at it over here.
It's not
in that commercial though. Yeah, those eyes look friggin' black as night.
Dang, this is crazy.
It's just so.
What a creepy little doll.
It's so funny that. Yeah, imagine that. Imagine that did not sell well. If you made it today, it would probably do pretty well because there's a bunch of weirdos around.
Great now. That's why it's worth so much money now.
Today, adults would buy it for themselves because there's a bunch of freaks around.
Creepy.
But back in those days, the parents said, no, this is satanic. It was funny. I saw a tweet the other day. It was that guy, his name was like Zuby or something. And he was saying, so all those church ladies from the 80s that used to say everything was demonic were right.
Yeah.
It's like, yep, pretty much. That's
pretty much.
They might not have had all the been able to explain it the best, but they were not wrong. Their record, their batting average was pretty good when they said things were demonic.
I'm having to make up for all those grannies that just said it's demons, bruh. I'm giving them the explanation now. That's what I do.
You got to be like the modern version of the church lady from SNL with Dana Carvey.
Yeah.
Could it be demons, bro?
Yeah, exactly.
Satan?
Dude, this is so crazy. We got to have a new episode section that's just like, is it AI? Because it's just like,
we
oh
could.
my gosh,
we could have a video
dude.
segment.
It's
Is like, is this actually a real story? Because we've been fooled before.
Is this real?
I think we've done a good job today. That we're like, I didn't want to be fooled again because that's happened before. It happens to the best of us. Like that city in China, was that actually a real place? I mean, it's kind of crazy to say that both those times we looked them up and it's like, no, those things were actually legitimate. Okay, and here's for our little season segment, our little segment.
Satan's throne was rebuilt about 100 years ago. The same throne that was spoken of in the book of Revelation. Further evidence that we're living in the short season. Like and follow for more. Much more.
I never really thought about it until the other day when I saw that video was that, so yeah, you take this temple, this altar to Zeus that used to be in Pergamum. And of course, famously, Jesus references Pergamum being the place where Satan's throne was. And so this famous altar to Zeus there that clearly resembles a throne. Okay, so then you think about it in the way that we talk about the little C's and we talk about possibly during that first century or shortly after it, you have the bowls of wrath being poured out, the trumpets. And then this area of Turkey is wrecked beyond belief. It's likely that temple. See, all we really know about the story is that it was sometime, I think, in the early 1900s or late 1800s, the Germans took that temple apart out of Turkey.
Well, it was already destroyed all over there in that area too. So it was already like destroyed when they took it apart even more. They brought over the ruins basically and rebuilt it.
I'll have to look this up. Maybe I'll see if I can find some pictures of this later. But the truth is, I guess when I remember originally hearing that story, and the fascinating part is the Germans from the 30s took this thing and put it in a museum at the time of like right before World War II started. Maybe before that. But the point is like we're getting the vibes of these Germans from the 30s, real bad, real occultic, and they put this thing together for some kind of spiritual power, maybe for conquering the world or whatever. Kind of the same thing like the Indiana Jones mythos. They're looking for these holy relics, these artifacts that maybe contain spiritual power that could win some kind of war and dominate the world. I'm not saying that's not true, but I'm saying that was my main focus on this story about them potentially taking this throne of Satan and putting it in their capital city. What I'd never really thought about, though, was the more spiritual context, not just them, but just like the time we're living in general, is that when you actually look into history and you find out all these places, we talk about the cities where the churches were in the book of Revelation, those places were all trashed, like buried under the ground. All those old temples, it's not like they were all standing and they just took apart some temple that was just like perfectly all immaculate. No, I bet you, I almost bet anything now, they had to dig that temple up. So that temple was likely, the altar to Zeus was likely under the ground. Maybe lots of it was already in pieces. And they transported that to Germany, a place that was not trashed, and they built it there, where kind of the seat of power is in the world at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So they took their God's throne and they set it back up in the 20th century. And if we go back to that famous speech from Al Pacino in The Devil's Advocate saying, "Can anyone deny the 20th century is all mine?" All of it. They put his throne back up in Germany, in Berlin. And I really think about that. I'm like, yeah, so just think about that in the Little Season context. That it was like, all right, I want my throne back. Go get it.
He's like, I already own this world. Go get me
I
my
need
throne.
my throne back.
Dang.
I never really thought about it like that, but yeah, it's like, yeah, it sounds like more something that the devil wants than the people want. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just seems like something the devil would say. Yeah, go get it. Go dig it up.
Go get my throne.
Because they didn't, they haven't taken the Temple of Artemis and put it back together someplace else. Right?
Yeah, it's weird.
What about all these other temples that were in that region? Why that one? Because he's back. He's back. And with that, guys, this ends the YouTube portion of the podcast. Appreciate you guys. Again, if you guys want to support this podcast, please see the links in the description. If you guys want to see the rest of this show, please check out my Patreon, which this will be on early and uncensored. And yes, if you guys really want to support this podcast as well, check out the sponsor of this podcast, Modern Roots Life. Appreciate you guys. Love y'all dearly. God bless you.
Later.
Everyone left me. Everyone deserted me. Jesus was always there. When everyone hated me and walked away, Jesus never walked away.